Hello and welcome back to episode 4 of this Blood and Ashes deep dive discussion into the Wheel of Time TV series. We are on episode 4 of the show, The Dragon Reborn, and I am joined by the visionary Villy.
I love that. Good evening.
It's getting better and better. And the magical Moritz.
Thank you for my lovely alliteration.
Yeah. Episode 4, by far the biggest diversion from the books that we've had so far, but also by far the best episode of this TV show we've had by far, ironically. Sorry for the book purists, which we are to a degree, but I really enjoyed this episode.
I've said it over and over again.
Sorry, Mario, you go.
Well, I can infer what your intentions were there, Vol. You thought it was bloody marvelous.
It was bloody marvelous.
I was just going to say that we've said it in the previous episodes that it's awesome to be able to know the story so well and be surprised. And this episode just again cranked it up another notch. It's like, oh, cool. You want to see how surprised you can be? Check this out.
Yeah.
You want to see how far we can stray from the source material? Hold my beer.
Hold on to your butts. Yeah. No, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I've watched it 3 times now. I watched it again last night just to refresh and then
I just watched it. I just watched it right now for the 4th time.
I think there's a lot of people out there that are watching it several times. Like
friends of ours on Twitter are openly admitting to many viewings.
Yeah. Talking about Twitter, it was very cool that we had the actor that plays Maxim chime in a little bit, where he was talking to us about how difficult it was filming that attack in the forest. Something like 50 takes over 4 days that they were hammered. They had a hard time.
A lot running uphill.
Yeah. So very physical role. It's great that they're interacting with the fans. We had something, what was his name? Miguel Alvarez, I think his name is the actor that plays the King of Gelden. No.
Oh.
The King of Gelden.
That's his name. Yeah.
Gelden, yeah.
Yeah. He also chimed in. He has some very good advice for everybody, that's to avoid magical blasts because they always hurt. So good stuff. Thank you, my liege. And also, while we're talking about all of these things out of the way, something came to my attention a couple of days ago. People complaining a lot about Perrin and being married. He's not married in the books. And Lila, can never remember how she's pronounced because she's already dead. So we've moved on.
Her name.
But she is actually from the books. She is a character and she pops up in the middle of book 4. We did a podcast about her a couple of months ago. And Perrin actually thinks to himself, she's named the same name, that if he had stayed in the 2 rivers, he would have ended up marrying her. And she is already married and she's got a kid and she's all plump. And he thinks to himself, like, oh, I dodged a bullet there. Good thing I left. And so literally in another turning of the wheel, he would have married her anyway, just like in the show. So
Perrin himself had connected those dots.
Exactly. This is Perrin's inner monologue from the source material. So it's not so far off. And the scene at the end of this episode, not to jump too far ahead, but anyway, the scene from the end of this episode where Nynaeve has that explosion of weaves is from the books as well, except it's from the last book. A Memory of Light. In the books, it's left right until the end. In the show, they chucked it in right at the beginning. So it's also verbatim from the books, exactly what happens.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I don't remember that specifically from the books.
Neither do I. Someone on Twitter retweeted a photo of the book. She's busy reading it right now. And I was like, wow. They even called it an explosion of weaves written in the book.
Epic.
Yeah.
Who better to deliver it than Nynaeve?
Of course, our girl. So anyway, enough of this chit chat. There's a lot to get through. I have double the amount of notes that I normally have, so we should get going. So we open up. Scene 1, Loghain attacking Gelden. Very cool. I liked it. There's fireballs. If you see fireball streaking through the air right in the beginning, that is not a catapult. That is a channeler throwing some kick-ass fireballs. I like the design of the city. I think that must be... maybe because I know some of this was filmed in Spain, but I don't think that was specifically filmed in Spain. Okay. But I like how the Gelden people are all Spanish actors. So that accent is like the the accent from the region as well.
Mhm.
And then we have that scene of him being spoken to by two. So there's those two black ghosts or whatever they
Mhm.
are. I was a bit taken aback. I thought maybe there are previous lives talking to him, but it's clearly his madness. I don't know. Which way are you guys leaning?
I think it's the introduction of the corruption and
Yeah.
the taint on the soul. So it's playing on his madness already. I don't think he's being spoken to by anyone significant.
No.
I don't think it's any one of the previous dragons. And he mentions thousands of them voices. So I think it's
he's far gone. It wasn't just those two. There was another 998 of them at some point.
It's
I don't think
the prominent two on the day.
Yeah.
Yes.
They had the day shift.
Next in line. I don't think it is giving away too much to say that I don't think or that Logan is not the Dragon Reborn, considering the ending of this episode.
Yes.
So the idea that there are actually previous dragons talking to him seems a bit more absurd because he isn't the Dragon Reborn. So why would they be? It's 100% the madness and the corruption that is just manifesting in that way. I think in general, how they handled his madness and corruption was awesome. I also liked that he specifically does not listen to the voices.
Yes.
They tell him to kill the king, and he shows him mercy and has him join him. And I think what's happening in Logain's head, he sort of alludes to it later, is that he is listening to the dragons, but he also says to that to the king in that speech that the previous dragons or had broken the world and he means to bind it or whatever it is. So he's listening to, he thinks these are previous dragons, but he's pointedly not doing what they're saying, which I thought was cool. Like Logan is genuinely trying to save the world, but sorry, buddy, it's not meant to be. You're crazy. That's what's happening.
I like how they didn't make him a bad guy.
Yes.
Because even in the books, he's not a bad dude. He honestly believed he was the Dragon Reborn. He could channel. He had all these people talking to him. Like all the signs pointed to him being the Dragon Reborn, and he is actually a good dude. So yeah, there's that as well. I'm glad they kept that.
One, when they put Gildan on the screen, that's the first time we get a location name on the screen. They never did that with Bream Spring or Eamon's Field or Two Rivers, whatever they're calling it, or Tarrant Ferry or anything like that. And it's obviously because it is much further away and it looks really different. But what it does achieve is it makes the world instantly feel way bigger, right? A lot of what we've been seeing is running around in the forest and in caves and how far are they really from Shadow Logoth when there's just forest all around it, and Perrin and Egwene have sort of reached plains and stuff. On the Amazon site, you can actually go browse the maps and you can see where the Caroline grass is, where Perrin and Egwene are. You can see where Bream Spring is. It is a long way along what is traditionally the Camelin Road. In the show, they've actually traveled quite far away. But what that Gildan shot does is it makes it obvious that, they are like way different places with it like the lighting is different and the accents are different. It just, to me, just blew up the world quite a bit. Another thing was, I'm pretty sure that Logain was channeling without using his hands.
Yes. I'm sorry I skipped over that. That is something that I realized as well. Because you mentioned
his hand does twitch, like when he does the shield, when those guards throw the spears at him, his hand does twitch slightly, but certainly not in any kind of shaping of a weave or anything like that. There's another instance later with the ladies when they do the shields and they do another thing that we'll talk about this again. And I also just loved Logan's confidence. Like he's just walking into the palace and everyone is scattering and dying in front of him, he is he's striding in. And by the end, when he's standing over the king, his costume also looks awesome. It's like all gold and he looks, like we were saying before, he looked regal sitting in that cage. Here, he looked almost like a messiah, right? That's not by mistake. I mean, that is obviously a purposefully done. But I thought his presence there was awesome. And the music. In this scene, I loved the music. It was a bit more like what you would expect traditional sort of fantasy style music to sound like. And immediately it fit in. It wasn't as sort of, I don't want to use the word jarring, but like some of the other music at other times has made me do like a double take, like, oh yes, I should remember this is in the far-flung future. This is not
Mm.
medieval times. But yeah, everything about this Gildan scene I thought was fantastic.
Morris loved it. I even said to
did.
my wife as well, I said, hey, look, it's Jesus when he was laying there. It's like, totally. I get it. I get what you're
100%.
saying. Yeah. And then in the next scene, we head over to the Aes Sedai camp, because at the end of the last episode, they met up with everybody, and now they have set up camp, and Nynaeve is keeping her distance from everyone. I like her little perch up on the hill, just surveying the camp below. And then we see that Moraine is finally healed by Karene, I believe they pronounce it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And it leaves a scar. I don't know if that's important. Is it just because she's weak or she's not good at healing, Karene? Or is it because the blade was tainted? Or
They have in the books
Yeah,
also had instances where the healing doesn't heal it all the way, because I think if the body has started healing itself and started creating scar tissue or something along those lines, then the healing doesn't undo that. So maybe that's the remnants of her own body doing normal healing, and the one power took care of the rest.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's healing. It's not plastic surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll have to get that later.
was
That was at the tower. We see Logain is also being held in some very conveniently located cave.
I made the same note.
That's
Not just
rad.
a cave, but it's like it's got a door, and then when you go inside, it's like this beautiful chamber with like a skylight and everything.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
Oh, very nice.
Sconces.
There were pillars next to the gate, the entrance as
Yes,
well. So
yes.
like, oh, it's very nice. How convenient. Anything else that you wanted to touch on there?
It's
Vili, you
beautiful
go.
scene.
I've been talking a
It
lot.
was it is I liked it. I liked all of it. The camp, the tents. The tents are the colors of the Arjas. Like you can see, there's only green and there's only reds there from what I've seen. I tried to see if I could pick up another one. And yeah, it's introduction to a whole new society in terms of the view. It's the first time you really see an Aes Sedai network of them together, I'd say.
And how the Arjas are sort of like jostling with each other for dominance and influence.
They travel in style, eh? I mean,
They do.
that's not camping by any
No, that's power money
That's
for you.
glamping.
It's more than glamping. I don't know what that is. But yeah, very, very nice.
I like that when Moraine gets healed, she sits up immediately, like the Undertaker, and she goes, I want to see this dragon.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm fine now.
Okay, business time.
Yes.
Let's go. We're not here to piss about. And then when she gets there, I love how menacing they managed to make Logain without him doing or saying anything. He's just sitting there with his eyes closed. The Aes Sedai have put blocks in his ear so he can't hear anything. And he's just sitting there, but they are sitting like the ones that are maintaining the shields on him are like basically sweating, right? Like they are straining themselves to maintain it. And when Moraine takes over, she puts her own shield on before Leandrin lets hers go. When Leandrin lets hers go, Moraine has a physical reaction. She goes,
Yeah, it's like,
whoa,
she grunts. She can feel the power.
And Leandrin goes, yeah, you can feel it now, can't you? That's half his strength.
Yes.
Heavy.
And like, he's just pushing on the outside of that shield constantly. They make comments about it as well. Like his lips not even trembling. There's not even
not a bead of sweat.
Not a bead of sweat. So he's a
just
threat.
biding time. Just literally sitting there biding time.
Yeah. Because I'm going to mention this right now, but like he could have escaped at any point. This is my opinion. Because when the wards are broken later on, and the armies arrive, he has a little smile, and then he just bursts out. Ooh. And I thought to myself on the third watch, like he could have been out of there any time, but what's he going to do? He's got no army. Like he's by himself and he's surrounded by Aes Sedai. Now's not the time. He was just biding his time.
True.
And when the time came,
and making them weaker in the process.
Yeah.
There's another moment a little bit later on when Moraine and Alana have him shielded, and they're busy talking, but he can't hear. They mention him being gentled, and in that moment, he also pushes out, and they have to sort of reestablish the shield.
Is it because they mentioned gentling?
Maybe, I don't know. It's just
Right.
coincidental. They talk about we're going to gentle him, and when they do, he's like, and they have to shit. Okay, quickly put the shield back.
Yeah,
in place.
I was like, ladies, pay attention. Like they were getting very chatty and
Stop talking about dogs.
Yeah. In the books, we've all, spoken about Alana on our podcast a lot as not being our favorite person, but she is rad. I like her in the show. She comes across as a lovely
And
person.
we'll get to it, but she kicks ass.
She is badass. Well, she is Battle Aja.
Battle Archer.
Yeah. So
I like the little sort of lore dump that she gives by explaining why she didn't want to be a blue, because Moraine says to her, you could have been a blue, and she goes, one water would never be enough for me, and she's proud to be of the Battle Archer, and she gives a bit of a speech about it, which is cool for newcomers.
Indeed. They've only got 2 Aes Sedai shielding him, and there's only 3 in the camp that are strong enough to do it. Surely you should have brought some more Aes Sedai along with you. I mean, it seemed, I suppose it's for the story, to allow him to break free, and so there's at least some
the
chance.
Reds are running around,
know how powerful he is.
Like, yes, the Reds are running around just gentling people.
Yeah, so we find
out shielding
out.
anyone.
Yeah, so that's something we find out as well, of course, from the episode. Was it episode 2? Is that how it starts? 1. Wow, it's been such a long time already. So episode 1, where they find that guy and just gentle him on the spot. They were gentling him, not murdering him. Cleared up. Thank you very much. But yeah, this is not the first. That was not the first time or the last time. So they are just rogue agents running around, and they don't really care too much what the Amyrlin seat seems to think about it. But I suppose that's going to come back to bite them in the ass.
I mean, Leandrin makes a statement later to Nynaeve that the Red Archer seeks to prevent those from those who would misuse the one power, and then she says, including other Aes Sedai.
Yeah,
heavy.
I don't know if that's like now just part of the series, changes to their mission, or if it's like Leandrin's personal mission now. Like that's like, but don't tell anybody that.
Yeah,
yeah, it's what we're doing, but keep it on the down low.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, there's also a scene right after that with Lan and Maxim practicing the forms. Going through some drills with the sword and the axe, and I thought that was lame. They could have done something way. Oh, was it Steppen? Sorry, not Maxim. Sorry, Steppen. Steppen, Maxim. They sound.
Also thought it was lame.
Same.
Yeah.
First note.
That's
not a fan.
They don't look like very dangerous dudes. Lan's flipping his sword up, like doing tricks. I'm like, what are you doing, bro? Be serious.
It's like having a conversation while doing it.
You're
not concentrating. Yeah. I was not a fan of it at all.
No. Like, I think it comes from ours as well, reading the books. There's so many scenes of them practicing the forms with their shirts off, drenched in sweat, hours and hours of getting perfection. And these guys are like, we're bored. We'll swing our weapons around.
Do you want to talk about the depiction of the warders in general?
We get to the point. We'll get to that.
Okay. Because this to me was like the introduction of that. Steppen is very sort of chatty. Even Lan, very chatty. In the middle of doing their katas or whatever they are.
Yeah.
Not a big fan. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, then there's Steppen then. I've written it down at Maxim like several times. So Steppen and Garene, his Aes Sedai, have a chat inside their tent, which gives us some information that there's some discontent amongst the Aes Sedai. That back home, not everything is cool, and that these Reds are kind of going very rogue. The Amyrlin is having a hard time, that there are fewer and fewer Aes Sedai for her to get the work done. So we see that the Aes Sedai are not a stable society at this point as well, which is pretty much similar to the books, because they are in decline, basically.
Yeah.
All that gentling has an effect. Yeah. So
their numbers are in decline.
Their numbers are in decline as well, right?
Yeah.
But that's all we get from that little scene. I don't know if you guys picked up on anything else from the camp.
Nothing specific, but I liked that conversation between Steppen and Karene.
Yeah. All right. Well, then the next scene is the Tinkers. There we are, back with the Tinkers, and Perrin and Egwene have decided it's like the next morning. They're packing up to leave, and Perrin and Egwene are invited to travel with them, which they do, and we get a little explanation along there as well about the way of the leaf and all of those kind of things. I think we've spoken about the Tinkers before the previous episode. So not much happens really in that scene. It's just now we know that Perrin and Egwene are with them and they're going to be traveling. And everybody again heading east. So we're all heading in the same direction.
I have another problem.
Okay, let's hear it.
Aram says they're heading to Tarvalon.
Why?
What the fuck are the Tinkers going to do at Tarvalon?
Maybe
they
thinks
hate cities and towns.
Yeah, maybe they're heading in the direction of Tarvalon.
That's not what he said. But
no, that's not what he said.
But that's what I heard.
Yeah. Look, he doesn't know. He's not the leader. He's just along for the ride. He doesn't make those decisions. Maybe that's what they told him, just to shut him up, because he is very chatty as well. Everyone's very chatty. Yeah. But anyway, we'll come back to the Tinkers. We do come back to them later on.
Yeah.
And then we have a scene with Rand, Matt, and Tom. So now Tom's helped them escape. The dark friend, Dana, this dagger in the throat. And they are off on their journey as well, heading east again. Everyone's east. So that's all cool. It's a short little scene, but we do get to, understand what happened to them and where they are going.
I think everyone's going east because Moraine told them they're all going east to Tarvalon. So
and Rand wanted to get away from Moraine, but Egwene's with her. So he's not actually listening to what Moraine said, but more, well, if Egwene believes her, she will be there.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm going. One thing I wanted to touch on about Alana liking her too much is that line that she has, like trying to shield Logain. It's like holding her cat in the bath. As an owner of several cats throughout my life, I can really connect with that. So yeah, making me more, she's more and more likable as time goes on, which is disconcerting for me. So I'm not supposed to like her.
I just had one more thing to say about Matt and Rand and Tom.
Go for it.
Sorry, I'm keep going back to the previous scene.
Yeah, me too. So go for it.
Rand did not have that whole experience with Tom burying the Aielman and all that sort of stuff. So Rand is kind of skeptical of this dude who, A, he saw rob Matt, and B, murdered a woman. Dark friend or not. Like Rand hasn't had a lot of exposure to dark friends, but he just watched this man throw a dagger through this young woman's throat that he was having beers with 20 minutes before. And I thought it was quite smart of Rand to be skeptical of Tom. And even Matt says to him, well, yes, that would be clever if he did kill her to gain our trust. And and off the back of that, I also just wanted to say that Barney Harris is consistently stealing every scene that he's in. He is so good.
Yeah, Barney Harris, as Matt, I'm still not 100% convinced. He's not the headcanon I had. Look, he's doing a good job. I'm enjoying what he's producing, but still...
He's doing a very good job at being the Matt that they want in the story. The show Matt.
Show Matt.
So in that aspect, he's very much doing a great job. Like he's selling it 100%.
I find that his like delivery of his lines and his even like his body language and stuff is, I want to say, head and shoulders above everyone else in the cast. Like to me, he seems by far the most natural.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, but I really, really rate him. And the more I watch him, the more I am saddened by the fact that he won't be around for the next season.
Well, maybe he's the best actor there and he got a better offer to leave and do something else. And that's why we are going to lose him. I don't know. Because they've been very hush-hush. No news whatsoever on why he's leaving.
No.
New then. I think we also head back to the camp at this point, where Leandrin has a little chat with Nynaeve. Nynaeve, who doesn't care if you're an Aes Sedai or not, she's asking the questions. And if you answer them correctly, I might, give you some info. And I loved the fact that Leandrin was like, Nynaeve, is that how you pronounce it? I was like, that's a nod to all us book readers who spent years mispronouncing her name. I was like, thank you, Amazon. Thanks, Rafe. I appreciate that. Because I did pronounce it as Nynaeve for quite some time. I don't know.
For me, when I read it the first time, it was Nineveh.
Nineveh. Like, her name is weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a cool little nod. But Nynaeve, just still in charge, large and in charge. Doesn't matter if you're Red Aja, Aes Sedai, Waters. She doesn't give a shit. She's great. And then we jump back. There's just that little scene there. Lan joins them as well, and Leandrin makes a hasty retreat. And then we go back.
I like that Lan calls her Leandrin, not Leandrin Sedai or anything. He's like, mind if I join you, Leandrin? And
I
then
wondered about that.
As soon as she leaves, Nynaeve's like, that woman is a snake. And I just thought it was cool that Nynaeve only put up with her because she wanted information out of her.
Yeah, well, I think she thinks all Aes Sedai are snakes at this point, but especially that one.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. We jump back then to Rand, Matt, and Tom stopping for the night, trying to find a place to sleep. Now, in the series, this is the Grinwells, which we know from the books quite well enough. They've changed them dramatically, their storyline.
Quite.
Yeah. But
it's
again,
unsettling knowing the character of Elsie Grinwell in the show and then in the books, and then seeing it in the show, you're like, oh, okay. Well, got to change gears in my head there a little bit.
Yeah. Like, yeah, well, no, it's not a spoiler really, but Elsie Grinwell in the book is much older. She's about the same age as Matt and Rand. And yeah, in the TV show, she's a little girl, which I suppose they did because to connect with Matt's sisters and give him that little that moment. And trying to get in. I like how Rand starts taking charge here. Like he's got Tom, who's the worldly man who almost gets them killed with his decisions and his talk. But Rand steps in and takes charge. Maybe that Taviran nature convincing Master Grinwell not to fire with that bow. And I like, but it's ominous that Matt has his hand on the dagger behind him, like he's ready to.
They play it up.
Yeah.
Tom's looking at him, and Matt is like advancing on him with his hand on the dagger.
Yeah. So nasty things happening with Matt there, without giving too much away.
I like that Rand is the one that calls out the farmer's technique.
Yeah.
Saying that you're drawing the string with a fist instead of with your fingertips, and that means that you're not actually prepared or ready to shoot at all, which is just another little nod at Rand's archery skills. Like he notices that sort of thing because he is himself very good with the bow.
And as well, the wife and the son behind them, they're a bunch of sneaky farmers. You got to be prepared if you live out there, man. You got to be ready for attack, because I mean, Tom didn't hear them approaching. Nobody heard those other two approaching, and then suddenly they were there. So yeah, good on you. Not that it served them very well that evening, but yeah, they did look prepared at least. Villy, do you have anything to add to that point?
No, it's just the farmers, they couldn't hear them because Matt was too busy fighting the horse to try and stay close to him.
Oh yeah.
So you can already see the animals, the line that they're playing in with him going crazy. That the animals got their heckles up whenever Owen got close, and that they get to a bit later.
Yeah.
But yes, nothing is quite comfortable around Matt at the moment.
No, there's definitely something up with Matt. Right. And we jump back to the Aes Sedai camp, and there's a lot of toing and froing in this episode. Back to the Aes Sedai camp. Nynaeve is still apart from everyone, but then she has that chat with Lan, who promises to help her. Like, I thought that was cool. Like, look, we did promise we would help you with the friends. Once we get to the tower, we'll have all the resources, and we'll be able to.
Either they'll be there, or we'll have the resources there to go find them.
Exactly. And you're welcome by a fire if you promise not to push anyone into it. Already knows her pretty well. There's a high likelihood that she will.
She has a little half smile on her face when he walks away, and you can see their little relationship,
forming. There's another scene later on where it gets even more like where I had to go, oh, look at them.
It's only because of that scene later on that I'm comfortable saying anything about their relationship at this point, because it becomes obvious.
It's pretty obvious. I mean, it was obvious in the books as well, not to us upon first read. But yeah. And then we head over back to the Tinkers again. More jumping, unless Moritz has something else to say, because I'm jumping ahead pretty fast. There's lots to go through.
No, not this time.
No. All right. And we get to the Tinker explanation about the way of the leaf, and like Perrin is like, how do you guys defend yourselves? And we find out that for thousands of years they've followed this way of the leaf, utter peace. They never have any violence. They'd rather let themselves be killed. And we touched a little bit again on Perrin's axe there. And there was a change as well to the leadership in the Tinkers that we did talk about a bit. where Rain in the books is the leader. He's the Mahdi, they call him, the seeker.
Seeker.
Yeah. So, and they changed it to Isla. And I don't know if it's because of the actor that plays Isla, because she is phenomenal. Like, we're talking about Barney Harris's performance. Isla is really, really good. Forgive me for not remembering her name, but maybe that's why she was put more in charge of some of the scenes, because she's intense and really good.
I think it's the other way around. I think they wrote the character to be more in charge. Like I think we said on the podcast that they're really elevating the female power structures in the world. You know, the Aes Sedai. Now we're seeing Isla lead the Tinkers, the Women's Circle in Eamon's Field. They didn't mention anything about the what is the village council, the men's version of, like, no mention of them.
No,
it's the Women's Circle in Eamon's Field. The Wisdom, you know, as a point of authority, and I think they got a good actress to fill the elevated role that they'd written. That's my theory.
Either way, it's great. I'm glad she's there. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I now, after watching that episode, have a much better appreciation for the Way of the Leaf.
Yeah.
It actually, the way that Isla spoke about it and explained it in those short conversations has gone so much further to convincing me that it is, you know, even a viable or a sort of a wise choice.
Yeah.
Where in the books that I've read multiple times, I'm always like, no, man, you guys are idiots. This will never work. This is the wrong thing. And then, but in the show, what she says is, you know, what does she say? It'll take, you know, everyone in the world to decide. Everyone in the world, all they have to do is take up the Way of the Leaf, and everyone will be safe. You know, that'll be an end of violence. I don't know. I'm obviously not doing it any justice. But
No,
I am not this highly paid actress. But
go back and watch that scene. She does it.
But yeah, I mean, it's far more convincing in the show than it was in the books to me.
Yeah, no, you make a good point there. I'm captivated every time she's on screen. I'm like, whoa, what she's, you know, she's got my attention fully. She explains it well. Also, the fact that, you know, the wheel of time will turn out your soul again. Like, if you die, it doesn't matter. You know, it does matter, obviously, but you're coming back again in the future at some point. So, and again and again and again, and you can just do better every time. So yeah, that aspect of it as well does, you know, lessen the blow. We then head back to Matt and Tom and Rand, and there we have a pretty intense bunch of scenes with a bunch of things happening. Yeah, so Matt is not feeling well. They're busy mucking out the stables as part of their deal to be able to spend the night. And he has to go over and have a little puke, which seems to be alive. Yeah. So we have that. I mean, when he gets up, you see that thing crawling on his mouth and everything like that. And then he speaks to little Elsie, who comes up and tries to give him her doll named Brigitte. Yeah. So I was like, oh, that's a nice nod to you book readers. You know who we're talking about. We won't say anything further for the show viewers, but that is again canon. And Tom's talk about Owen. Let's get into that.
Before we go on to Tom, can we just talk about Matt vomiting up that stuff? Because it's not just on his face, it's like it's on the stone. You see the same Mashadar effect from Shadow Logoth on the side of the well or whatever it is that he's vomited on. And then when is it the little girl or someone calls his attention, it sort of crawls back up into his mouth again, which, you know, indicates some level of sentience. You know, it's not just stuff coming out of Matt. There is something, a parasite of some kind, yes. I mean, and later we see him very much look possessed.
For sure. All right. No, yeah. I just glanced over the whole puking up of demons, but I suppose...
what did you guys think of that?
Pretty cool. I liked it.
I liked it as well.
It's a great and easy visual way to explain something that's happening. They did it with great success in Prometheus as well. The touching of that sort of substance that took them over.
Mashadar.
Black
Prometheus.
Mashadar.
That's where it comes
Hey,
from.
That's where it came from, probably. But yes, it's done very well with a very, very little explanation. Everyone can see like he's infected, possessed, taken over, whatever you want to call it. He's got a parasite, literally, figuratively, but it works well.
With the compacted timeline that they're working with here, we've only watched 4 episodes. There's only 4 episodes of the season left, and we're supposed to like stretch into aspects of book 2. So they don't have a lot of time to just show through like nuanced conversation and Matt's sort of character reactions with other characters, how affected he is by what came with him from Shadow Logoth. So to have, like Vili said, this like visual representation of something being inside him and it being quite obviously malicious is awesome. It's super effective. It looks cool. It's way different from the books, but I am all for it.
Yeah, look, without having the time frame that we have in the books, this is the best way to do it. Because in the books, Moraine is one that specifically tells them in Shadow Logoth, because she's awake the whole time, don't touch anything, don't take anything, don't, like blah, blah, blah. And Matt completely ignores her. She didn't say it yet, but did Lance say something?
No, I think in the book she also
don't
says
eat anything.
Don't eat anything,
when they go anything, don't eat anything. Pretty much just stay in the room and chill and relax. Like
in the books, she says don't accept anything from anyone.
There's not supposed to be anyone.
There's a weird semantic justification that Matt has for taking the dagger. It wasn't given to him or anything.
Yeah.
It was just there, so he took it. So there's like in his head, he can justify not coming clean about it. Were you given anything? Were you like, because I think
he's still
in the books, there's a person involved in that exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah, he still has the ability to do that now. He, at the moment, can still say, no one gave it to me, I found it, because there's nothing said about don't take anything from the instruction that Lan gives him. So it's more like don't eat anything, I can't remember if it's drink, whatever, but there's nothing said don't pick up 3 daggers on the road.
Yeah, that wasn't on the list of things not to do.
No.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously we've now let the cat out of the bag somewhat, that you were not supposed to take things out of Shadow Logoth, and taking the dagger he's brought something with him, which is now inside him. And yeah, it's not looking good for the poor old man.
No.
Young man, should I say. Talking about old men, we have a little chat now, because Tom's looking at what's happening with Matt, and he's like, oh, this reminds me heavily of my nephew, Owen. Now, this is a big motivator for Tom in the books as well, what happened to his nephew, and it's basically the exact same story here.
With a bit of creative license thrown in, which is kind of cool. It's dramatic.
Well,
the story of Owen in the show.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's pretty much what happened to him anyway. Like Owen started to channel. They realized it, and they gentled him. The Reds gentled him, and then he died. How he died is where the poetic license comes into it. But at the end of the day, it's because he lost touch with the source, the true source. So,
didn't his villagers have something to do with his death?
Yeah, I think
in the books.
Yeah, in the books, there.
It wasn't 2 weeks later sitting at the dinner table and cutting his own throat with a steak knife.
No, but that is far more. That's pretty dramatic, I'd say.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's actually quite, again, just cranked up for the show.
Yeah. So the idea here, the show leading us to believe that Matt is also a channeler now, and therefore a candidate for the Dragon Reborn. But his symptoms are not the same as other male channelers. So there is that.
Tom, they seem the same. They're skittish animals, like Vili said. The sort of aggression, because he says Owen also became weirdly aggressive after a while. He got really angry, and Matt is showing. He says Matt shows all the same telltale signs, and I will leave it at that.
Yeah, Rand tries to defend him, but Tom goes on saying that it was until everyone defended him, until he threw someone with a rock threw a rock at someone without using his hands. Type of thing. Like, when it happens, it's going to be too late. Like, I can see it. He almost convinces Rand that and Rand is kind of like not sure. He goes and checks with Matt later in the scene as well. Like, which was kind of a weird conversation to have on a straw bed in a barn. Hey, you know I'm here for you.
It gets lonely
All
on the road,
way
Billy. But we'll come back to that, because now we jump back to the Aes Sedai camp. Like, please just stay in one place. It's making our videos really difficult. We have what I call the water social, when they're all sitting around the fire, and this is what I alluded to earlier, Moritz, where we can leave that discussion for here. But yeah, the waters and Lan are super chatty and friendly and jokey and drinking wine around the fire. Not how I pictured a water.
Well, Joe, you gotta
so casual.
just know that they're going to do something for the screen. They can't build a lot through writing about the deathly silence of a man. They can put them on the screen dead quiet the whole time, sitting around the fire, and then Nynaeve will sit there like chatty bunch of guys. But it's really stealing valuable time from a 50-minute episode.
Bunch of dudes sitting around silently.
I felt like it didn't need to be the warders that gave her the information that they did there. Like, they spend a lot of time sort of like being casual, talking about that time that Lan fell off a horse into a pig trough. And, you know, like they are sitting around, like Maxim even says, you know what, like when Nynaeve says you warders are a lot more fun than you look. And Maxim says, except for me, because I look fun. No, warders don't look fun. No, they are supposed to be the embodiment of like a human weapon, and they are serious because they take their job seriously. And those warders, like some of them should have been out, you know, checking the perimeter. They don't have any soldiers from the tower with them. No tower guard with them. It's only the warders in the Aes Sedai. Who's checking the perimeter?
Moritz is a point. Moritz is pissed. No, this is no bueno.
And I hear what you say, Vil, about like, obviously, if you just train a camera on a man who's not saying anything, you're not getting anything from them. But you could very easily, using some slight tweaks, make it seem like they are uncharacteristically or unnaturally stoic. You know, like if Nynaeve or someone speaks to them, they could just not respond and turn away and go do something else. That's also explaining something. It's explaining that they're not a bunch of like boozy clowns around a fire, but that they are actually to be taken seriously, because I know what some of what they were trying to do was in that scene. I mean, there's scenes of Aes Sedai walking past, casting sort of, you know, long glances at the warders and sort of saying, yeah, come, it's you know, time for bed. And, you know, like, and sort of playing up that polyamory theme that we see throughout, which is great because that is there in the books. But the way that they portrayed it seemed too casual and lazy. There are other ways of giving that message without making the warders seem like a joke.
Yeah, look, I get that
they're literally joking.
Yeah, I get that they're trying to make the warders personable so that you as a viewer can connect with them and understand them. You want to hang out with them and hear their conversation now. But to us book readers, we're like, that's not what a warder is. Lan has smiled and spoken more in these first 4 episodes than he did in 14 books.
Yes.
It's like, it's a thing, like it's a chapter on its own about the time that Lan smiled in the books. And here he's like, giggling around like,
I know.
You've done him an injustice. Look,
I actually quite enjoy Stepan. Make Stepan the one warder that's sort of like a bit jokey and like that you can connect with, because you also want to have that emotional impact of Karena's, you know, death and you know, the emotional impact that it has on Stepan and that sort of thing. So sure, make 1 or 2, but all of them, including Lan, it was a bridge too far for me.
Like, I can accept some changes, but this change I will not accept, and I agree.
I just don't see the value in it. Why?
And Billy, you can make it on the screen if you look at the example of the Witcher TV series. Geralt, played by Geralt.
Yes.
There's a stoic man who says very little and yet is the lead in a TV show that is very, very popular. All he does is and then occasionally fuck. Like that character is more like Lan than Lan is like Lan.
Yes.
And I was promised characters that there would be major changes to the story, but the characters would remain true. And this is not
That's
Land.
not it. Yeah.
Not at all.
Look, it doesn't ruin the show for me or anything. I just don't see the point, and I
No.
don't like it, so I'm ignoring it from
Again,
this point forward.
we're bitching about it, but we're not going to stop watching the show. Huge fans.
Love it. Love the show.
I've watched that episode 3 times, so I have the right to bitch.
Yeah.
Of course, then at that point, everybody's tired. Some of them are tired, so they head off to the tents. Lan goes back to Moraine's tent, and they are worried. She is worried, at least. And of course, through the bond, he can. I like that little line. Like, I shouldn't have had a drink. You always get emotional when I drink.
That's cool.
Through the bond, and we see like very specific instance of that in the book, where even when Waters get drunk, the Aes Sedai get drunk, and they're in a different place altogether.
Full on drunk.
Full on drunk. So yeah, the bond is pretty strong, and this is a little nod to that. But that whole discussion about, is Logain the Dragon Reborn? Because I mean, again, like Logain believes it because all the signs are there, and it seems like it's pretty strong. But he's 10 years too old. There's no Trollocs chasing him. He's not having any bad dreams. So, I mean, basically at that point, I'm like, okay, they're not going to be pushing Logain as the Dragon Reborn.
As the fifth.
Yeah, because right after that earlier scene when Matt says, he said there were 5, you, me, Egwene, Perrin, and then the scene cuts straight into Logain's face. You know, like
okay, there you go. Yeah,
yeah, like very
the
subtle.
Old bait and
Amazon.
switch. Yeah,
we get it.
The old misdirect.
The old misdirect. Anything else in that scene? I think that's
just that Lan shouldn't have fallen off a horse. He's not a shit horseman, so
no. It's still going to
into
go
a pig trough. Sorry,
Yeah.
Bob.
No, they do have the discussion, Lan and Moraine, about if it's Lan, but more pointedly saying that the Dark One is not, if it is Logain, that's the dragon, but more pointedly that the Dark One is not after him. Lan points that out. And the Dark One's after all of these other ones that we know of. So that is a big difference. I mean, and Moraine's saying like maybe he doesn't know
that's a good
which
point.
one it is. So it
He's
gives
as
us
in the
quite a lot
dark
of
as we are.
information that it's
yeah.
And Lan says, I don't know if that's good news or bad news.
Yeah.
I don't know. Somehow that makes me feel okay.
Like the Dark One is just as lost as we are. We have no idea, just grabbing at straws. So yeah, maybe that does give some hope that, look, even though the Dark One is so powerful, it doesn't know everything.
Nope.
All right. And then we head back to the Tinker party. Oh man, what a party. These guys, they know how to party. There is wild dancing and wild drums. We did speak about this as well, but in this episode, this is not how I pictured the dancing and the music when I was reading the books. It was far more dulcimer. That's the name of that instrument. Yeah, this is like wild.
You thought it was more folk dancing.
Yes. I had a much more folky vibe to it, but this is just, these guys are wild. It's just dancing and just spinning around. It looks great fun, man. Yeah, like I wouldn't mind traveling with the Tinkers for a while either. And a lot of exposition here and a lot of discussions about the future. And we have that scene between Isla and Perrin talking about her daughter, like the scene. Tears to my eyes 3 times.
It was awesome.
Yeah. There's a line there that choked me up all 3 times that Isla says to him when she says, like, when she found the body of her daughter, and she held it for hours and she wanted revenge. The line, what greater revenge against violence than peace? What greater revenge against death than life? It's like, oh, dude, writers.
This is what I mean, right? Like, okay, cool. Yes, that makes sense. You know, like my natural instinct is to not follow the way of the leaf and go get the revenge and everything, which I thought was cool as well, is that she wanted to take the spear from her daughter and go hunt them down, which is cool for reasons that I don't know if I should
book reasons,
or not.
Which we've discussed on our podcast. Yes, I didn't connect that. Yeah, so that's also a little nod to the books. All right. But yeah, we'll leave it at that. Is there anything else from that scene? Because that's quite a protracted scene. There's Aram and Egwene as all have a chat as well.
Aram and Egwene can't dance. I mean, I can't dance, but I'm also not on a TV show dancing badly.
Yeah.
They just look like they are not listening to the music at all. And I think, like, traditionally, like on sets like that, I don't think they actually have music playing. Like,
No.
if you ever see outtakes from movies at parties, house parties and stuff, everyone's always like, and there's just silence.
Yeah.
But these two also are just sort of like swaying awkwardly and stepping. It's like they're standing on uneven ground. They're not really even doing anything with any kind of rhythm.
It's because they were already very drunk by that point, probably. That's what happens. That's what you get from that scene, Moritz. They can't dance. Well, look, the dancing doesn't seem like there is like steps to it or anything. The way the Tinkers dance, it's just wild abandon. Just
when you go watch it a fourth time, Joe, take note of how badly they are dancing, or just keeping with the music at all. Right? I mean, there is a basic rhythm, and they are not on it.
That's right.
Maybe I was still just pissed off about the water scene by the time I got here.
After that, the whole show is ruined. Just complain about everything now. But that scene again, Aram, however you pronounce it, I like him. I still like him. He's a really cool dude. And he does mention there as well that after, like, when they turn 20, they get to leave and
Rumspringa
go live on a kibbutz for a little while or something. And then they can go and do
I thought that was a cool addition.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit more realistic, you know, like as loosely as you can use that term in a fantasy show. But I thought it was a cool, I'll stop doing this, but like we said on the podcast recently as well, the Tinkers also, they do preach the way of the leaf, and they do try and actively to recruit people. I think Elias in the books even like warns Perrin and those guys against it, and you know, Isla and Rain are actively trying to get Perrin to put down the axe and join the way of the leaf is the way to go. So it's cool that they do the flip side of that as well, and say, like, even for their kids that grew up with the Tinkers, they give them an opportunity to go out into the world. And the last thing that Aram says is some of them even take up arms. You know, which is completely against the way of the leaf, which, you know, diverges from their culture completely. It's the same as the Amish going on Rumspringa and then deciding, maybe I don't want to be Amish. Maybe I do want to go to college and do beer bongs.
Yes. Beer bongs. Right. Yeah, I can just imagine Aram standing upside down on top of a keg at a house party.
He looks the type. He does. A mischievous eye. Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with that. That is a good way as well. Like, you don't know what the world is like. You can't just keep them trapped there. And he says that most do return. Not all, but most do. Because, I mean, look, their life is not so bad. It is pretty cool. It looks a lot of fun. Yeah, party every night.
I mean, sure, sometimes you get killed and beaten up and you're not allowed to fight back. But, you know, there's parties.
There's downsides to every way of life.
True.
And then we have that scene that Billy loves so much between Rand and Matt lying in the hay. I just saw it as, you know, like, I'm here for you, buddy. Like, I can see you struggling. I'm your friend. If you need anything, you let me know. And
it would have been a better scene on horseback somehow while they're riding the morning after or something. That, like,
the two of them on the same horse.
If you are able to channel
his arms around his waist.
Yeah. I mean, it's also a very pointed scene as well when he says, I don't know, when they say goodnight and when he goes up to the candle to blow it out, it was like, oh, here comes something. As he blows out that candle.
Is it then a dream sequence?
Yeah. Then we have the dream sequence. There's a couple of things happening in that dream. The first of which,
beaten down on someone with a hammer.
I think that's his wife.
With a hammer on an anvil in the stomach repetitively.
Yeah, so he's like, somebody mentioned it on Twitter or something. I think it was that he's working through his problems, like literally, you know, working through his grief. I was like, yo,
dark but good. I like it.
Dark, yeah, working through his wife. Hectic. So yeah, there's that, and then there's a scene where Matt is walking and his hand is covered in blood. I don't know. I don't know what.
Maybe it's a lead-in for the next scene.
He's got blood on his hands or something. Perhaps.
And then Egwene, who gets surprised.
Yes, surprised by Mr. Glowy Eyes himself. Yeah, so
Get a good look at his costume here. What do you guys think this time?
I got a better look. Yeah, it's not a raincoat. I'll give him that. I did think it looked like just like a black raincoat that someone had lying around on set. But no, it looks like they've put a bit more effort into it than I initially.
Got a fancy collar.
Yeah, like a double collar thing going.
It stands up. Yeah, I quite like it.
Yeah. No,
The mask isn't great. The face, not.
Is it a mask or is his face burnt or?
I don't know. Is it in a cocoon?
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's so hard not to talk about this, or it's so hard to talk about it without giving too much away. But there he is again, the man with the glowing eyes, in their dreams, which is a running theme. And basically that's it. He wakes up and Tom is there saying like, "I got you. It's cool." And Matt is not there. We have to go and find Matt. Matt is not doing well, and they run to the Grinwells farmhouse, open up the doors, and everybody is dead. I suppose first impressions is that Matt is standing there all zombie-like. Matt is the one that went crazy and killed the family, is what they are trying to make us think. And
he's standing there with a dagger in his hands.
Yeah. But he does then...
Dagger.
Well, pointedly clean dagger.
Yes.
It's not a bloody dagger, nor is he covered in any blood that after such violence stabbing you.
No, but when they show him from the other side, his eyes are all glazed over. There's obviously something wrong with him. He's just a couple minutes ago had that, black vomit stuff come out of him. They are very obviously trying to make it look like Matt did this.
Yeah. But he does lift that dagger up then and point it up into the dark shadows and says, "I see you."
In a very creepy way.
I
loved it.
Love the way that he's pointing that dagger. His body language in that scene is tremendous. It's fantastic. But then he also snaps out of it. And
you know what he looks like in that scene, Vil? He looks like a puppet, like a marionette. Almost like he's hanging because he's being controlled.
Moritz.
I just thought of that now.
Yeah, but I thought he looked like a gangster with a sideways gun. But no, yours is way cooler. Hey, Willie?
Very much does it. Yeah, absolutely. And points out the fade in the shadows. No one saw the fade.
And the movement of the fade being very out of the pages of the books, not natural how fades move. They're not walking or running or jumping. They're just moving. And the fade is badass.
When it just sort of emerges from the shadow and you see it, and Tom just throws a dagger up there straight at it, it goes back into the shadow and then it comes out of the shadow downstairs.
Yes. And then later on I
think there is a staircase there, but it's just like into the shadow, out of the shadow almost immediately.
And then at the end you see Tom's dagger stuck up on the top there where he threw it. So as he stepped the fade, so it's still stuck in the wood there. He was on target, but the fade wasn't there anymore. And then we have the epic Tom versus fade battle, which we have in the books as well. Rad. So glad it's there. And it is just as epic as I imagined it.
It's the benefit of having a younger Tom. Tom actually puts up like a proper fight. And there's one moment when I think Tom kicks the fade and it sort of like slides back into the shadow again. I've heard people say that it's unrealistic that Tom would be able to kick a fade like that, but I don't know if it was all just Tom's kick that did that. I think the fade is also sort of like coming in and out. I think some of that was the fade itself. But the best part of that fight wasn't even a Tom move. It was a fade move. When Tom throws the dagger at it and it just catches it. They're almost at point blank range and the fade catches that dagger. It just is like, oh, fuck. This is no too much. It's too much.
Yeah. No, that move you say as well, when he kicks it and it slides back, that's very serpent-like is the way they're described in the books, like coming in and like backing up and then striking. And I enjoyed that a lot. I like I like that scene a lot. Catching of the dagger. I mean, that it shows a fade is not to be trifled with.
It's supernatural.
I like the stillness of the garb as well. There's not a lot of movement. It's difficult to get
look
absolutely
for that.
still.
Neither did I.
Now.
there's still a little bit of movement, but it appears to be a lot stiller. Like it's not affected by the air. Like he really is shooting out of the shadow in and out. Brilliant fight scene.
Yeah.
And then Matt and Rand takes the bolt.
Yeah.
This might be somewhat controversial.
Yard.
What?
But that was my favorite scene of the episode.
No, that's a great scene. It's better than the waters around the fire. We'll give you that.
Yes, that goes without saying. But like better than Gildan in the beginning, better than the sort of like the culmination of this episode at the end. That to me was, because I don't know, for listeners of our podcast, they know that I'm actually like a bit of a fan of fades. Like I think they're actually quite cool. And this just like showed you again how fucking hectic, because then obviously you also realize it was the fade that killed the family, and on the way out of the house the little girl is dead, you know. So it just goes again, that fade is, they're not there to play games, right? They have no heart to speak of whatsoever. And I watched a video recently that was talking about how I can't remember who it was one of our high profile sort of YouTubers, saying they were disappointed in how quickly the boys get away from the fade. But what that gives us is we get our Whitebridge moment here. You don't see what happens with Tom and the fade.
Yes.
The boys run off, and I bet we don't see Tom for I don't know, whatever the show decides to do with him.
Yeah.
Like now you actually just don't know. Like literally anything can happen.
First 5 minutes of episode 5, Tom's back.
It's got the head of a fade.
All right.
And then Matt drops his new doll.
Dude.
Mm.
Oh, yeah.
Poor Bagheera.
Well, that all plays into the whole story of the poor girl dying. That was pretty sad. That little girl bringing him the bread was an especially well delivered, way better than opening scene Dragon Man being stilled by the Reds or gentled by the Reds.
Oh yes.
This girl was actually acting well. She's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Way better actor.
Reshoot with her as the man that can chat.
Yeah, she'd be more convincing. Hey. Stealing my words. All right. So then we leave them there as they run off into the night on their horses. And we are back in the camp of the Aes Sedai. And we have that Lan and Nynaeve moment there where Lan goes up into the mountains or up into the hills to do that little ceremony. And he is not surprised this time by Nynaeve. I wonder if she's intentionally stomping hard so that I'm coming. By the way, I'm not sneaking up on you this time. And they have that whole thing about the old tongue and about her parents hiding her in the cellar and stuff. And I don't recall this from the books.
Me neither.
They don't in the books either mention that she is from the town or who her parents are or anything. So I don't know if this might actually be canon, you know. I don't recall.
Not that I can recall. But when Lan translates that prayer for her, or that, you know, that little mantra, I thought that was awesome, because she was saying it's the last thing her parents said to her before they locked her in the cellar or something like that, right? And what it actually translates to, I should have written it down, but it would have been so cool for her to finally know what her parents' last words actually were to her, and they are relevant to that situation as well.
Yes.
Like it's about the parents sacrificing themselves for their kids, you know, like that sort of thing. It was very cool. A+.
She has great pronunciation of the old tongue as well.
She does.
Very good. Because I read that so many times, and she was just her parents said it to her once as a child, and she still remembers it.
Pretty important moment in her life. Pretty sure it was etched in her memory for a while.
I can imagine. But they have a little very cute scene there. There's a moment where Nynaeve, like, she says, "You're not what I imagined," and he's like, "You're exactly what I imagined." What that was, we never find out, because the camp is suddenly attacked. And that's when Karena's wards are triggered and the army is back, and Logain's army has come to free him. And that's when Logain has that little smile, like he knows they're back, like he can sense them or whatever he's done. However, he does it with his magical powers. There he is. And then there's that attack on the camp. Having spoken on Twitter to one of the actors involved in there, and the amount of effort that they put into that seems disproportionate to the result that we got.
What are you trying to say, Jody?
I'm trying to say that
What did you think of that battle?
it was a bit meh. Again,
Really?
somebody says, I think Karene or Leandrin, who says as well, the no army can take over this camp with 7 full Aes Sedai, but they pretty much do, and it's not really an army. It's more like 40 guys and the king.
Yeah, they're a long way from Gildan,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you're not going to move a full-size army from Gildan through Andor without raising alarms everywhere, right? Like that was never going to happen. So the band of followers that came to rescue Logan could never have been a huge force, and there were still quite a few of them. I mean, they were throwing some pretty, big area of effect weaves at them, and they kept coming and coming and coming. There's a shot relatively early in that fight, like after Alana brings those arrows that she had suspended in the air. She brings them down on the front ranks of the men, rather gleefully, I would add. She's got like a big smile on her face when she's doing it, which was a bit upsetting.
Yeah.
But then they show the rest of the guys running into the camp for like an aerial shot from behind them, and then guys up on the sides as well. They're not just down in the lower section, and that sort of makes it look like a few more people. I'm sure that in shooting it, the same actors got killed multiple times at different points during the battle just to make it seem a bit bigger. But I saw some criticism of the weaves themselves as well, which I totally disagree with. I thought it looked awesome. I mean, I think, Joe, if we watched the same video where the criticism was that some of those explosions from the dirt just look like, pyrotechnics set up on the ground and then just explode up in the air. But in the books, those fights are always described as like fountains of air, of dirt exploding from the earth and the earth exploding under their feet and stuff. It's always been that, it's not all just lightning bolts and stuff. It's often the earth moving and going in waves under their feet and that sort of thing. So I thought when the Greens started casting weaves that looked like they even travel along the ground and then erupt on those guys, I thought that looked awesome. I was like, that's not something that you see all the time. I really liked it. And then they fling guys like way up in the air and stuff. That I was a big fan. I liked it.
I was a bit underwhelmed. I thought that could have been grander. Like I thought Aes Sedai using the 1 power in battle like that would have, like, I was underwhelmed by that. When I pictured, like you're saying, that the earth exploding, I imagined the earth coming out like in a solid column. But this is more like, it looks like it's coming out of a little point.
That's not how explosions work, Jody.
1 power explosions work. They can work any way you want them to work.
Explosions.
Just remember,
are not columns.
in this group of Aes Sedai that's traveling, that's got Logan, only 3 of them until Moraine got there is powerful enough to shield him. So you're not going to see crazy battle effects, and they can't. What are they going to do for the next one? Let's just
two of the Aes Sedai that are strong enough to shield Logain are greens. It's Karine and Alana, and then there's one other green. The rest of the Aes Sedai there are reds, so they're not battle archer or anything like that, right? So it's only the greens, and only 2 of them are worth much, and one of them is preoccupied. So it's only Alana that's out in the battle that is a strong battle archer Aes Sedai, and she is the one that does do that one weave at one point where she's like, it looks like she's channeling quite a lot, and just before she
awesome
casts
scene.
the weave, her warders know what's coming and they shield for it, and it's just like this massive explosion behind her, and that's when you see some dude flying off in the distance, like up in the treetops and stuff. I thought that was great. Like the use of slow-mo is really cool. Yeah,
like that scene was great. I wanted more of that.
Well, there's only one Alana in that battle.
Yeah, you see, no, but look, right before that battle, that's what I'm saying. Like one of those, I can't remember if it was Leandrin or the other one, saying, like, there's no way that an army can defeat a camp full of 7 Aes Sedai, 7 full Aes Sedai. She says it beforehand, like, what are these guys even trying? We're unstoppable. And then you watch the battle.
So what? You take everything Leandrin says now at face value?
Her acting is just too good. She's convinced me.
She's convinced you.
I'm now behind the Reds. Anyway, like, look, fine battle. But again, I'm not like, that's not like the standout of the episode for me. I thought like I would see Aes Sedai in battle, and it was fine again, but it wasn't on the scale that I was expecting.
Did you also think the first time that when Karina says her wards have been broken, you see sort of flashes of the power approaching through that tunnel into the cave? I was like, oh fuck, who's here? You know, like who's casting some kind of weave to mask their presence and is like walking into their midst. But then it was just like, oh, okay, cool. It's just her wards. And then I realized, oh, that's a cool way of showing the wards being triggered, because otherwise it would just be her sitting there going, oh, my wards.
Yeah. Oh, my wards.
No, but audience, just believe me, something happened.
Yeah.
I thought it was a cool visualization of it.
Yeah, and as well, Leandrin can't see them. She doesn't. She has to ask, "What's wrong?" So it's like it's Karene's wards, specific to her as well. But we have to have some sort of visual cue that something's happened, and that's fine. So yeah, at that point is when Logain takes the opportunity to rid himself of these pesky shields that have been keeping him on his knees. And that's why I'm saying, like, at this point, now that his army's there, he's like, all right, it's time for me to go. And he just explodes them off, because it's not like they are like loose, like it's not during a transition, you know, like one Aes Sedai taking over. They are fully like shielding him, and he just decides, okay, now's the time I'm going to break free. And he breaks free. I mean, like, he smashes those shields and they go flying against the walls. So that's the scene that made me think like he could have been out of there anytime he wanted, and this was the time he wanted, which I only thought about on my third watch. But also, yes, where all the cool shit starts happening. Now we're talking about grand scale. I liked everything from here on out. I was very impressed. So yeah, then it's like there's a lot of scenes there in between him and, you know, jumping between him and then jumping between the battle in the forest and whatnot. But basically speaking, Moraine then enters in and has a little chat with him. Ballsy.
Badass. She knows he's not even like he's melted the cage.
Yes.
The two other Aes Sedai that were shielding are lying unconscious on the ground, and she walks in and she's like, the others will be here soon, so we don't have a lot of time to talk. And he's like, okay, you want to talk? All right. And she just has a straight up conversation with him. She has ice in her veins.
Right. And this is very Moraine in character for me. Like this scene as well. Like I think as well that she was 99% convinced he wasn't the Dragon Reborn, but she wanted to chat with him to be 100% convinced. And when he says that the wheel wants us to do better, then she's like, that's what I needed. That's what I needed to hear. The wheel doesn't want anything. You want.
People want.
Yeah. Sorry to tell you, buddy, but you're crazy.
Yeah. The voices in your head are exactly that. Voices.
She notices Karina is starting to channel. She can see, she can sense a bit of channeling, and then she gets a bit of confidence, and she says to him, I just want you to know, those voices in your head are the first signs of madness.
Yeah. So they were
your power. She says here that your power is just a pinprick compared to the, what is it? The blazing sun that is the dragon.
That is the dragon.
The Dragon Reborn will be.
Yeah. So a little bit of a less than subtle foreshadowing for the next 5 minutes. But yeah, is it at this point then that they stand up, because the Karene throws Logain out of the way, and then she stands up and they start channeling, and then Leandrin joins them. Yes, so it's the three of them. Yes.
And does Leandrin say link with me?
No,
that's
yet.
later.
Not yet. Okay.
It's later.
That's right at the end.
It's when the gentling happens.
Yeah. So then this is a very cool scene as well. Also stuff that maybe you didn't notice on the first viewing, but when they're trying to shield him again with all three of them, and he shoots those black blades, spear things out of that. It's Karene who sees them, who looks over and throws up a shield in front of the other two to save their lives. Because I originally thought that they were all just putting up their own shields and she was too slow.
That's what I thought.
She saved their lives. She looks at them and then throws up a shield in front of them and sacrifices her life.
Well, for her to do that, she had to let go of the shield on Logain. And but I don't understand why she just didn't shield all three of them at that stage. That's just, it doesn't make sense.
I don't know.
Couldn't weave that many weaves at the same time. I mean, that is hard for Aes Sedai to have multiple weaves at the same time. Yeah, Joe, I missed that completely. I was also like, I thought she was distracted and then didn't shield herself like the others did. And early in this episode that we are recording right now, I mentioned that Logan channels without using his hands, and then I'll speak about another scene. I thought that Moraine and Leandrin here had woven a shield in front of them without using their hands as well, because they already had the shield on Logan. But what you're saying makes a lot more sense, and it fits a more sort of tropey TV show plot for someone to give the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah. Because I didn't see it the first year. It's the camera angle is really like side on to them, so you can't really see what's really happening there, because there's a bunch of weaves all around and stuff. That I really caught that only on my third watch last night.
Okay.
That's where I went like, now I see what happened.
Oh, that's why I haven't caught it. I've only watched it twice, like a pleb.
Noob.
What am I even doing here?
But then the other two that are remaining, Moraine and Leandrin, do get to get the shield onto him basically and bring him down to his knees. And Leandrin is drawing on too much of the one power. And this is great that this is mentioned in the lore, that you can draw too much and burn yourself out. And you can see like the color in her cheeks, the light coming out of her skin even. And she's very concerned. I didn't take her for that kind of person. But she
especially since she was sort of antagonizing Karenia or subverting her by spreading, among the other Aes Sedai there. Stepan mentions it earlier that Leandrin is trying to get them to agree to gentle him on the spot. And Karenia confronts her about it later, says, were you eventually going to come talk to me? So yeah, I was also surprised at how upset she seemed. But I mean, I guess another sister, and they can fight amongst themselves, but no one else can fight them.
Yeah, I suppose.
That's the rule.
That is the rule. But anyway, they have him, and then in the battle, that's when Stepan, I was going to say Maxim again, Stepan feels Karenia die. And as in the books, the warders, when they feel that, they kind of just lose their minds. When that connection, when that bond is severed, it can lead to some sort of like semi-madness kind of a thing. And he kind of loses it. You can see it on his face. And
Berserker rage.
And the next soldier to attack him was like, "Oh, dude, now's not the time. You should have picked your moment better. Don't attack him now." Yeah, he gets an axe to the stomach, and off they run. It's like a bunch of them. He says Karenia, so they run back as a bunch of people. Lan, Nynaeve, Stepan and whatnot. They head back to the cave to go and help out because they can feel that she died and they need to stop Logain. And when they get in there, that's that scene from the trailer, was it? Where Stepan's running in with these two axes to attack the shield. And I remember us discussing this in our breakdown video, going like, what does he think he's going to achieve? Well, nothing good is what he achieves in this situation. And
talk about your all-time backfires.
Yeah. This was one of them. So yeah, his axes, magical axes, seem to get through a shield slightly, but they do get inside.
Well, the shields are not a force field. They're shielding Logain's ability to channel, but they do resist.
Yes, so
the axes somewhat.
If that's all they are, an ability to shield a channel, and then there shouldn't be no resistance to his axes. But for dramatic effect,
Logain was pushing back.
Yeah, maybe, because like Logain was done. Like they had him at this point. This kind of reminds me of when in Infinity War, when they've got Thanos, they almost got that gauntlet off, and Star-Lord comes and gets all angry about somebody dying and stuffs it up for everyone. And exactly the same thing happens here. And he explodes the axe, and shards go flying everywhere. And here's where I lost my shit on first watch. Seeing Lan's throat get slit open and blood pumping out of him by the liters on the floor really threw me for a loop.
Moraine had a big axe haft through her abdomen.
Yeah, people whatever. Lan was bleeding, yo.
Well, at that very moment, I knew there was only one or two things that was going to happen.
Yeah.
With Nynaeve was standing there, or they going all Games of Thrones and killing everyone. Red winning. Yay.
Yeah, I'm going to go with option A.
Nynaeve herself barely is missed by one of those shards. It like pegs into the wall, like next to her head. So I mean, a couple like a foot in the other direction, and nobody was getting any kind of mass heal from Nynaeve. She would have been dead as well.
Yes, and then Logain
So
is the Dragon Reborn. End of season. End of the show.
Roll credits.
But no, it's not the case. And wow. All right. Huge departure from the books, sort of earlier than usual. We didn't even know at this point in the story that Nynaeve could channel. There's no suggestion of it. There's only suggestion that Egwene can channel. Like even when they have that chat, Lan and Moraine in the tent when he's been drinking, is the Dragon Reborn as strong as Egwene? And she says, I don't think so. He might be. So even she thinks that Logain isn't, like, Egwene is even stronger than Logain, but Nynaeve.
I love this. I love the power levels that they are referencing, because to viewers it wouldn't be obvious that there are people that are way stronger in the power than others. And just all the talk about Logain, like how strong he is, and like, oh yeah, you can feel his power. That's only 50%, you know, like all that sort of talk establishes that people can be stronger and weaker in the power. There's another scene where Moraine says to Karenni, like after she's healed Moraine, you've held back armies. You know, like a simple healing like this shouldn't have exhausted you so much. And she goes, it didn't. It's him.
Yeah.
And then in that conversation that Lan and Moraine have, for Lan to say, so Moraine's obviously said to Lan that Egwene is potentially incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
And Moraine says, I don't think he's as strong as Egwene.
Yeah. So that's good news for Egwene. Like good news for me and us viewers that, you know, not only can Egwene channel, but she's going to be strong. I mean, if all of those Aes Sedai that we know, if all these powerful, this Moraine that's like leading the cast, can't handle Logain, but Egwene is even stronger than him. That's good news for the future of the show. We're going to see some kick-ass channelers coming up pretty soon. And then the Super Saiyan moment from Nynaeve, visually stunning. It really took me by surprise, because obviously was not expecting anything like that. But in the end, I love it. I think it's fantastic TV.
Medusa's braids and all.
Medusa's braids, yeah. Like
I have one question about that.
Bring it on.
I don't want to rain on anyone's parade, so I'm hoping that you've got a nice, clean answer for me to wrap a nice little bow around this. But why could Logain see anything that Nynaeve was doing?
Yes. I had the same question. Spoke to my wife about this. Maybe she was just, you know, because she didn't seem like she was in control. She just literally exploded. So she's weaving a bunch of things. One of them may be a light blast. And he saw the light.
Why? Light?
Because she's so not in control. Yeah, she needed to see. She was operating, you know, she's
in control enough to do complex healing.
Yes. Look, dude, I don't know. I don't have a nice bow for you. I'm sorry.
Damn. The one thought that I had was that it is canon that Logain can see Ta'veren.
Yes.
And maybe this is Nynaeve sort of coming into a Ta'veren-ness, because they only mentioned 4. Rumors of 4, but I mean, that means absolutely fuck all, because rumors of Ta'veren mean nothing.
Yes.
So maybe, I mean, it is also quite obvious that when Matt's talking about who's the 5th and no one knows, could it be Logain? Then Logain is gentled, which we haven't really spoken about, which we should.
We'll get there.
And then at the end of this episode, it's like, oh, Nynaeve can channel and she is super powerful. And then Logain uses the phrase that Moraine did to describe the dragon. He goes like a blazing sun, you know? So it is very obvious that we are here seeing, oh, here's one person that could be the dragon. And in the books, you know that Logain can see Ta'veren. And when he sees
the Dragon Reborn,
yes, he refers to them as a blazing light,
beacon or something,
blinding
like that.
light or something like that.
Yeah.
Which I thought maybe you could come up with a sort of, because I don't know if it's been said explicitly in the show. I mean, we just know this from reading the books as many times as we have. But for viewers of the show, that men cannot see women's channeling. They can't see their flows and their weaves, and vice versa. Women can't
Yeah.
see or sense men channeling or see any of their flows or anything like that.
This is something that I've been looking for specifically in all the rewatch episodes that I've done. Is there the perspective of a third person view of someone channeling at someone? And is there any sign, or can they see the weaves if they are not able to touch the source? So it's not been explained yet. So if for the context of the show, for me, it doesn't make that they may actually want people to see the weaves, like everyone can see it.
That's a question
that
I
as
asked
a
as well.
mechanism. There's not just that when there's going to be channeling on the slide, it's going to be secret and sort of low key type of channeling. But I haven't seen. I thought that there was going to be some, and I looked when in the beginning in the Galdan when Logan is channeling at the king. That maybe there would be like a further view away, and it would be sort of just the sky that's being held back by nothing. But there wasn't anything like that. It's
I thought the
still at this moment, for me, everyone can see the weaves.
It seems like it.
Which
makes
makes
would have been cool. It would have been cool if, like, even at the Winter Night, that first fight, right? If we saw Moiraine, weaving all these weaves and everything when the camera's focused on her, and then show, like Villy was saying, like a bit further away, like a villager sort of seeing, and then not seeing the weaves at all.
Yeah,
like just seeing Moiraine sort of moving
just
her arms
the,
and then fireballs flying and that sort of stuff. And you can do that in the presence of two channelers. Always show the weaves. Like in the presence of two female Aes Sedai, you can always show the weaves. But when there are people around that can't see them, show it from their point of view as well. Like, take the focus off the main character and show that they can't see anything. It would be fairly easy to accomplish. I don't know what really would gain you, because they might just be writing out the instances where flows are invisible to someone because of their gender. They might be writing out all of those instances, and it doesn't matter. Everyone can see magic when it's being done. Which is how it seems at the moment.
It would help their budget, their CGI budget, if some scenes they didn't have to do that.
It's a no-brainer.
Just, I mean, and how cool would it look if Moiraine just went like this and fire appeared in her hands and streaked across the side, or lightning came out when she...
Yeah, but then you have the slow-mo shot of her in focus, and you can see all the weaves moving around and stuff,
But Villy, you're right. I had the exact same thought about that, and I don't know if they're going to do it or not at this point.
We'll see. Maybe we still start seeing perspective of people that can't touch, because now at the moment it's all who can, who can't, hush hush, who's dragon, who's not. We might go into deeper explanations of these things as this, not just the season, but the next ones roll forward. I mean, they're going to do a lot of learning from what they're doing now, and in post-production of season 2 they will apply some of that learning. What was negative that's how shows build themselves. You got to take your viewerships and their opinions into perspective, I hope, and take some of these things and maybe shed a little bit more light. And a little bit of light is 2 minutes in a TV show, like just a quick conversation to explain
Not
something.
even 2 minutes. 2 minutes is a long time. You don't even need that long. Anyway,
okay,
this one more thing that happens
deserve
here.
2 minutes.
But are those weaves just for the benefit of us, the viewer? We'll have to wait and see. Right, and then let's get to what happens after that. Villy's favorite scene, where Logain gets gentled, and this is Mart's where we have the linking, where she says, "Link with me," and all the other Aes Sedai come running in. So obviously they've taken care of what's left of the army. They're done, and they come in, and everybody, all the women channelers link. And that's something we get in the books a lot as well, like this ability to link.
Was there 13 of them?
There were only 7 in the camp. So no 13 at this point. But she does link.
One's dead.
Which one? Oh yes, Karen is dead, because there was another one. I think it was a red in the field that got 2 arrows, but immediately someone was healing her.
She was healed.
So she's all right. And then they're all in there, and they link together, and he floats up in the air, very Messiah-like, and they gentle him. I thought, like, this is also a very emotional scene for me, and this is very moving. I felt the power of it. And Moritz, you wanted to say something about that earlier?
No, just that it was great, and that it looked awesome, and the sort of the visualization of the gentling was also quite cool, like, pulling that stuff out of his chest. Again, on the podcast, Billy was talking about it the other night, just like the slow motion of it, and you can literally see the tears coming out of Logain's eyes, and also like coming loose and like floating off. It just the quality of that scene was amazing. It like at no point did I feel like, oh, there's the strap that they fucking hoisted the Alvaro Morte up, like into the rafters of the set or anything like that. It all looked cool and it was super effective, and it looked suitably not violent, but I guess maybe violent, because they're ripping the power out of him,
rough,
and he's having this emotion. Yeah, and he's having this emotional reaction to it as well, and he's crying afterwards as well, I think.
Billy, didn't you cry as well?
I did. I watch a lot of stuff on TV, and not many things move me to emotion. And I didn't cry in the sense of weeping at a loss. I couldn't believe it that just tears flowed out of my eyes. I was just sitting there going, damn, this is such a powerful scene. It is such an incredibly powerful scene, played out so well by all, and even Leandrin. I mean, her, firstly, heading into it, the weaves. You can, for the first time, really see flows of weaves coming together through the ground. They're all doing a synchronized swimming move with the snapping of the arms when the maximum power gets torqued up to do the root extraction out of Logain's chest. It is all moving. It's powerful, but then that slow motion shot, the tears falling out of his eyes, and the complete loss in his face.
Yes.
The immediate loss in his face. Like, it's just done perfectly.
Because there's a scene later when he's like, right after that, he's lying on the floor and he's like, you can see it again, like not just that scene where he's floating.
He's done.
He's done.
There's there might have been a knife next to him. He might have had a dagger in his
good thing there were no steak knives lying around.
And he would not have even thought about using it in defense or anything. It's just like, I'm done.
Very cool rendition of Logain. Very like in the books, you get glimpses of him, on his way to Tarvalon and stuff, and I love everything that they've done with him.
Yeah. Well, something that Rafe also said was like they emphasized his character more than in the books to give everybody this idea, of how dangerous male channelers can be, and that was our criticism in the first one. Was that dude rolling around on the ground was not dangerous, but fucking Logain's dangerous, man. Yeah,
menacing. What they did also do a lot in the lead up to the show is like play up the actor and the character, like, of all the main characters that are named, like he's in like, all the promotional material and everything. He's a threat in one episode. We meet him at the end of the previous episode in the cage. We see his history and his time all the way to being gentled in this episode. So like Logan's in all episode. The promo material, like the role that he's going to play, he's gentle now. So how are they going to fit him into the story as a contributing cast member to move the story ahead, or to add, context or lore or whatever it is, now that he's gentled? Because he's not playing the role of the menacing male channeler anymore.
There is talk. Somebody said there's confirmed that there'll be flashbacks, and we know we're getting flashbacks to the Age of Legends because they've cast some of the actors for characters that were alive in the Age of Legends. So there is the possibility for flashbacks and things like that as well.
The whole Gildan scene is a flashback. Because he's in the cage at the end of the last episode. Then suddenly this episode we're in Gildan and he's running around capturing kings,
as you do. So flashbacks, there's precedent for them. We'll see. Also, he's just a high profile actor after being in that Netflix TV show. Maybe they just used him for promotional purposes because everybody, like a lot of people, know who he is,
maybe.
And that's it. Basically, he gets gentled, and our final shot is that of Nynaeve, and everybody looking at her going, what the fuck did you just do? What?
And then her sort of like looking just past the camera and like, shit. What did I just do? She's got a very cool expression on her face in that final shot.
Mm.
Oh, yes. Like two things I thought about right now. Why is her braid undone? Irrelevant. Just
She went Super Saiyan and had to go up in the air. One big spike would have been lame. So like having the Predator dreads.
Predator dreads. Did she, when she mass healed everybody in the cave, did she heal Logain's madness? Like, to heal his mind? I wonder. Just a thought.
I think that cannot be done, even in the books.
Oh, well, they are not sticking to the books, so that doesn't mean anything. It could possibly be done. I mean, if she's so badass, she heals everybody. Maybe she healed his insanity at least. So now he's sane and missing the power.
Do you? Well, that's what I was going to ask. Is that what you're getting at? Is he now gentled but still mad?
Yeah. So now is he gentled but sane? I don't know. Just a thought. Because that would make it worse. Because if you're insane, you're insane. I mean, you don't. I don't know. I've never been insane, but if
I've seen you.
There are instances that dispute that. But yeah, and I was just thinking it'd be even worse now that he's completely in charge of his faculties and his gentles. That would make his fate even worse.
Yeah, doubly bad. Yeah.
Anyway, just a thought I had, and basically that's the end of the show. This is a long recording. Lots to talk about in this one, but yeah, by far we are the scale of epic showness is rising. Episode 4 is better.
The trajectory is primo.
Next episode 5, I forget what it's called. Has anybody
No, but we should talk about it. Speculate.
Yeah, we'll do that, but it's pretty much soon enough. Within a week we'll have that show up and running and another video talking about that. So just hold on to your horses. There's a lot to go through already as is, without speculating about what the future ones. But I know that we have episode names up till episode 7 of 8, and episode 8 is as of yet untitled, I suppose.
Really?
Not to give away spoilers. Yeah.
Maybe.
All right. So what happens?
Put a bet on it.
Put a bet on what?
What the last episode is called?
Ooh. If they're going by the book titles and things like that, then maybe I can think of what the last episode will be called. But we'll leave that for our private discussion. No spoilers. Morris is ready to go. All right. Well, I forgot to mention it at the beginning of this video, but I'll mention it now as well. Please like and subscribe and ring that notification bell. We will be doing regular videos as well. We want to do some reaction videos just closer to the time as well. So those will be short, nothing like this, and then we'll do our deep dive videos like these again. So stay tuned for all of those. Like and share with your friends as well, if you don't mind. If you enjoyed what you've been watching. Comments as well in the comment section. Let us know what you think, what your theories are, what you think is going to happen in the future. If you agree with us, disagree, want to fight, let us know. I can always just delete those ones. But yeah, we'd love to hear from you as well. And I'll put all the links in the description box below as well about the podcast, and follow us on social media and all of that stuff. We just love talking about the Wheel of Time and reading Wheel of Time and watching Wheel of Time. So if you're one of those people, you've come to the right place. Gentlemen, anything you'd like to add?
No, that's all good. I'm done. I'm spent.
Yes. All right. Let's take a break now for a couple of days, and we'll see you again same time next week. Gents, thank you. Goodbye.
Cheers.